rich mind, strength, courage, and wisdom. Strength, courage, and wisdom. With a rich mind, strength, courage, and wisdom. Strength, courage, and wisdom is a motivational moment designed to equip you and empower you with the necessary fundamentals and strategies to take your business to the next level. Every Wednesday morning at 8:30, right here, live on Facebook. You are in for a great treat with Rich McClern on Strength, Courage, and Wisdom. Strength, courage, and wisdom with Rich McClern. Strength, courage, and wisdom. Strength, courage, and wisdom with Rich McClern. Strength, courage, and wisdom. Strength, courage, and wisdom with Rich McClern. Strength, courage, and wisdom. Strength, courage, and wisdom is a motivational moment designed to equip you and empower you with the necessary fundamentals and strategies to take your business to the next level. Every Wednesday morning at 8:30, right here, live on Facebook. You are in for a great treat with Rich McClern on Strength, Courage, and Wisdom. Strength, courage, and wisdom with Rich McClern. Strength, courage, and wisdom. Strength, courage, and wisdom with Rich McClern. Strength, courage, and wisdom. Strength, courage, and wisdom with Rich McClern. Strength, courage, and wisdom. Strength, courage, and wisdom is a motivational moment designed to equip you and empower you with the necessary fundamentals and strategies to take your business to the next level. Every Wednesday morning at 8:30, right here, live on Facebook. You are in for a great treat with Rich McClern on Strength, Courage, and Wisdom. Strength, courage, and wisdom with Rich McClern. Strength, courage, and wisdom.
Oh, wow. Lucia.
Yes.
Oh,
Good afternoon, everyone.
yeah.
Welcome to Strength, Courage, and Wisdom on Wednesday.
Strength, courage, and wisdom. Got my own theme song, y'all. It's your boy. Strength, courage, and wisdom. Every Wednesday, we come to you live. During the Corona season, we're coming to you at 2 p.m. in the afternoon. And as you know, I'm bringing the ruckus. I'm bringing the raw. I'm bringing that real stuff every time I come on this show. And today's show is going to be special because it's a good friend of mine, man, young man that's doing some positive things in the Baltimore community. And also a gentleman that's just fully just talented, man. He's got all kinds of talent. Got a family. He's a father. He's just all that, man. I love the brother because he always keeps it real. But I first want to say hi to my co-host, Lucia. How you doing?
Hello, Richard. How are you doing today? I am blessed, but I want to send out some condolences. Several of my friends and even my family have suffered some loss. And so I want to recognize the Palmer family and the loss of their mother, who is the mother of our church, a Miracle Church. I want to recognize the Abundant Life family and the loss of their great pastor, the great apostle, Mary Mazik Wheeler. And then I want to recognize my own family at the loss of my cousin, Beaky. We call her Beaky. Tell her a little thank you. I want to recognize my cousins and let everybody know that that to be absent from the body is to be present with the Lord. And even though I learned of her passing on today, what I understand and I recognize and realize is that she is no longer suffering. And so in that, I do rejoice. In that, I am glad. And in that, I have my strength. For the Lord is the one that gives me strength. And for that, I am grateful.
Amen. Amen. We are sorry for your losses, and we're praying for everybody out there that lost someone over this COVID season. But more important, today, Lucia and her church family and her personal family. We're praying for you, Lucia. I want to give you some good news, though, Lucia. Miss Alexa Gardner passed the bar exam, and she got her documentation yesterday, man. And I'm so proud for that young lady, man, and how she's worked hard through this last 3 years to get this degree, and now she can practice law. Practice law. And I want to say congratulations to all of the 2020 graduates from elementary to middle to high school to college and master's degree, graduate school, etc. Congratulations to you all. So listen, Lucia, I don't mess around when I bring people on the show. I bring people that are real that's on the show. I don't pull no strings with this. We had Dr. Frazier on a couple weeks ago. We had Dr. Wallace on a few other weeks ago. And I got a brother, man, a young brother, man. That's what I like. See, I like the youth, man. I like to talk about and bring people on the show that give you some energy, man. And when they talk, they about it. And they true to the game, and they true to it. He true to his community. Not only is he a father, man, he is an entrepreneur. He is a businessman. He's an actor, which a lot of people don't know. He's been an activist as long as I've known him, and I heard that he was like that in Morgan State University with the afro and his hands up in the fist, and he just was speaking poetry. He was doing so much, man. But I want to welcome aboard, man, the one and only D. Chase, that's what I'm talking about, baby. You must have connected an external mic. Did he?
Is that better?
Yeah, you're better. You're better now. Yes.
Oh man, what I was saying that you are absolutely too kind, good brother. Everything that you say about me, I could return and say the same things about you. Sometimes if people think that activism look like an afro, and it looks like a dashiki. But one of the greatest activists you can be is an entrepreneur. Yeah. And I've always known you as an entrepreneur, as a visionary, as a person who is a standard bearer of an example of manhood, of chivalry, of fatherhood, of encouraging words to, men who are making the climb. You're a big brother. You know what I mean? Not only are you a tall brother, but you're a bigger. Some people can be tall and not be big. You are a big deal in our community, and I'm glad to have the relationship with you that I have.
Thank you, D. Chase. Thank you, man. Thank you. Lucia, you see me in Lucia as well, or no?
I do not.
No, I don't.
It says you are solo, and I don't see anybody else.
Okay.
I see you see it now. But I can't see you.
I see what's going on, Lucia. I think I know what's going on, Lucia. Hold up a second. Let me straighten this out, guys. Let me jump. Now we're good. Okay. How about that, guys? We're good now?
I see Lucia, but I don't see you.
Yes.
But I can hear you, though.
Okay. All right. I see me on the screen, so I think we might be good now. So D, we usually start off with a quick scripture. I'm going to let Lucia read that scripture. Lucia, can you hear me? Lucia, come on.
Yes, I can.
Okay.
All right. Our scripture is coming from 1 Corinthians, the 1st chapter and the 10th verse. And it reads, I appeal to you, brothers, by the name of our Lord Jesus Christ, that all of you agree, and that there be no divisions among you, but that you be united in the same mind and the same judgment.
See, this is the time. This is the time where we got to get together as one. We can't be dysfunctional. We can't have differences of religion, differences of last names, difference of blocks, difference of gangs, difference of churches, difference of where we live. We cannot let that come between us. We must all come together. It is a community. And D. Chase has been working, young man, been working in the hood, the community, all of his young life, man. And I came here in 1995. I think I met D. Chase in the early 2000s. And they kept on talking about this guy, Chase. I'm like, who the heck is this D. Chase cat, And I got a chance to meet him, man. And ever since then, we don't talk much. We haven't really had too many sit-downs. But whenever we get around each other, we have a little dialogue, a little conversation about something positive. And every time I see him, he's out in the community. He's doing work. And as you guys all probably know, he has an organization here in Baltimore that's probably across the country, which he's going to talk about, called Standup Baltimore. And he started that from scratch, from what I understand. So, D,
Yes,
first, I'm
sir.
going to ask you, the first question I'm going to ask you, man, in this times now, in this unrest, in this peril, what are your thoughts, your initial thoughts that come to your mind?
Well, I mean, it's a time overdue. Sometimes we look at conflict and we see conflict as the problem. All right. Conflict is never the problem. It's the conditions that produce the conflict that are the problems. All right. So sometimes we're not aware of what that conflict is until it bubbles over. So once it bubbles over, we can properly explore it, expose it, and ultimately deal with it. So I see this as a moment that I've been preparing for, all of my life. I like to say that I'm a student of spirit and a student of time. I'm a student of history. I'm a student of the great representation that we've had in all of the worlds where people have come and have ideas about how do we holistically make humanity better. And I just see that this moment as the crystallization of how do we make humanity better. In order to make humanity better, it has to the conflict have to be positioned in such a way that the result has a way of resonating around the world. So when you look at the world and you look at who influences the world in terms of culture, you would have to say that African American people are the chief influences of the world. So any conflict that happens with that group not only impacts that group, but it impacts the world. So what you've seen is other human families raising up and say whatever that they are under the pressure of, that they're no longer going to tolerate. So this represents an opportunity for us to be wise and to stay and remain connected with our creator, get the wisdom that we need to get from our creator, and then create systematic plans of how to go about strategizing change in our local communities and then throughout the world, or creating what we like to call duplicatable change. So Stand Up Baltimore represents that model of duplicatable change.
Wow. Wow. Lucia, your question?
So how long has Stand Up Baltimore been in
And under the
existence?
brand of Stand Up Baltimore, you have the brand of Stand Up Baltimore, and then you have the work of Stand Up Baltimore. Under the brand of Stand Up Baltimore since 2015, well, technically 2016,
Okay.
under the work, I believe that this was a work that I've been called for. So I've been actively involved in activism as long as I've been in school, and probably before then.
Wow. Hey, D, my question, man, I'm going to tell you something. Last week I spoke, and I don't know if you caught the show, man, but I want to say something. Last week I made a bold move, and I said that in order for us to cure this problem of racism, in order for us to try to fix this, we must dismantle the Constitution and rewrite the Constitution. Because every time that something comes up, they go back to the Constitution. I believe it is the root of their plan. It's i.e. if you want to mess up Christianity, rewrite the Bible, redo the Bible. So I say that we have to start somewhere, and I suggested last week that we rewrite the Constitution, because the Constitution was written by 5 or 6 Caucasian white gentlemen in a room. They didn't know anything about African Americans too much. I mean, about where we're at today with the millions. They didn't know about Hispanics, Mexicans, Chinese, Korean. They didn't know what parts they would play and the numbers they would produce when they were writing that Constitution. But now they have to deal with it. Everything else has changed. Why can't that change?
So what I would say is that we hold these evidence. We hold this evidence that all human beings are created equal and endowed by their creator. That is a very divine idea. The truth of the matter is long before the forefathers presented themselves as the authors of the document, they actually were great students of the land of Kemet, Egypt. They were secret society individuals who were Masons. They were Shriners. They had a long study of the doctrines that had been created in Kemet that created the first all quote unquote free society under the concept of one God. So these individuals were actually very astute. And they were so astute that if when you look at the back dialogues between them, they wrote that ultimately their conflict was going to be the fact that they knew that we were created equal. And in some questions, we're not created equal. We are superior. And that superiority or the reality of our existence would come back and tear this country up. So they actually were a wise group of men who already foresaw what was coming, but they knew that they could not stop it because they desired what we call manifest destiny. And a part of manifest destiny was creating in this environment where you took the best vision, the best ideas, the best practices from the world, you incorporated into one place, and then you utilize the best practices of those individuals to dominate everybody else. So, my argument is that they very much knew it. I don't, if I'm 100% honest, I don't see the problem in the Constitution. Um, I see the problem in us rising beyond the Constitution. Long before there was a doctrine that granted what we would like to call civil liberties, which is what the Constitution is. It's a document that demands civil liberties. What predates that is the human liberties. All right. So there are certain divine rights that we have as human beings that has nothing to do with the institutions that are organized to either quote unquote lead us, control us, or dominate us. So the truth of the matter is that we're looking at an opportunity to evolve a constitution where the one humanity function can be uplifted, where we can use the best practices of humanity to uplift the rest of humanity. And I think that, once people get out of the political upheaval and once people get out of the fog of being angry, what the actual opportunity represents is an opportunity for human beings to meet and meet their creator on the square, tap into what they are divinely created to do and to create, and then act accordingly as one human family.
Lucia?
Amen. Our theme for today, or we've been on this theme for the last several weeks, where do we go from here? So I want to ask you, what strategy for listeners about where do we go from here? Where do we now actually form a community that is actually working in our neighborhoods? How do we create partnerships and the like to take action now?
Yeah. So one of the first things, for instance, if you're going to go out and do anything, the first and foremost you have to study the problem. All right. One of the greatest challenges of individuals, people want to impact a thing without properly putting the amount of time of studying that thing, and in particular studying those who have been actively engaging in working that thing. So before I tell people to go out and do something new, what I want you to do is to go and do something that's old. All right. Our grandparents, they understood some real foundational things that brought community together. They understood the importance of Sunday dinner. They understood the importance of, on holidays, all of the family members coming over. They understood the importance of family reunions. They understood the importance of family trees. They understood the importance of keeping all historical documents that existed so that the recording of a particular person's life, you can look and see what it was about. They understood what it meant to be long suffering. They understood what it meant to connect to the divine. They understood prayer life. They understood how to submit themselves to a greater force. So, I tell people before we go out and try to fight the monster, let's go back and lock ourselves into what made us who we were in the beginning. There were some basic assets that we had in the beginning that we have gotten away from. So our first move in terms of what should we do here from here is number one, we have to become better human beings, all right, who are closer than we've ever been to our creator. Uh, we have to do the very fundamental things. And then once we get the fundamental things down, then we can begin to move outside of our households, study the policies that govern our neighborhood. So our first move outside of controlling and being absolute in our household and making sure that we are being fair and just with children, being fair and just with our mates, being fair and just with ourselves. Our first move is simply a move to get to know the neighbors who are on the left and the right of you. All right. Because community starts in the house and it branches off slowly into the society. So it's a slow march forward. So we get to know our neighbors, our blocks, the surrounding community. We get to know who is the police commander in our district. Do we make sure that our children, and though that individual is very familiar, that we are running a community and our children are to be respected and to love. And we expect to know each and every one of the cops by name. We go to those communities who are serving food, and we give them some ultimatums to say you're going to increase and improve the quality of the food, or else. And what does the or else? What does the or else look like? The or else looks like me, Miss Joanne, who makes the best turkey wings, and Miss Martha, who makes the best macaroni and cheese, and Mr. Joe, who makes that lemonade with the proper amount of sweetness. We're going to open up a store right next to you. All right? That's what we're going to do. All right? And we're going to make sure that there's going to be a sit-down restaurant and tear this daggone glass down. All right? I'm tired of you thinking that you can stand behind bars and glass yet grow rich. We're not having that. So it starts with these very small communal efforts, all right, where you begin to develop and cultivate your own main street. You then reach out to the school that's right across from you, and you go and you ask them for a part of the curriculum. Well, let me see your curriculum for first grade, second grade, third grade, all the way up to 12th grade. And then you look and see what the private schools are doing. And you say, look, if the private schools are advancing in this manner, why aren't you up to times? Then you go to the private school and say, listen, you guys have endowments of $5 and $6 and $7 million, and you share a zip code with these poor children. These poor children are going to be an aid to the community, or they're going to be the community that makes it very difficult for you to live here. So we're going to ask you to extend your resources to the community because you are part of the community. Oh, you're not a part of the community. So what can we do to replace you? Let's go into your charter and expose your charter and see the racist history of your charter and its members. Oh, no, we're going to expose everything. And I could just go on and on and on and on. But as you can see, that this is a local move. We're focusing on national and international policies. But what people have to understand is that our fight, first and foremost, starts with ourselves, continues with our wives and husbands, then to our children, aunts, uncles, and grandmothers, and then to our neighbors. And when we begin to prostrate like that, we begin to understand the fundamentals of what it is to be community. And when the fundamentals of community exist, they don't have problems. They have situations that they work together to solve.
Wow. That was profound, my brother. Hey, listen, one thing I like about you.
That's good. That's good. Thank you for that answer.
I always liked about you, man. You're kind of a historian as well, man. You really do your homework and you study your people. I want to make a holler out to a couple of folks, to my mom, of course. I want to say, hey, mom, and my brother, Quadre, Connie, my cousin, my other cousin, Derrick, Trini, and Martine, and Jack Scott. Hey, listen, guys, you are listening to Strength, Courage, and Wisdom every Wednesday at 2 o'clock with Rich McLaren and my co-host, Lucia Ellis. And today, man, listen, you better get your pen and paper out because you're going to drop a couple more nuggets for you. You are listening to the one and only Mr. D. Chase. Now, you guys probably know D. Chase, and this is kind of interesting to me, too, because, he's quote-unquote quasi a promoter. But I wanted to say, I heard you on the show not too long ago with your boys and my boys, of course, Zeke and Dwelle, in regards to Dawei, rather.
Don't let your mother hear that show.
No, she can't hear that show. But I want you to break it down for me, because one of the ways I did meet you, of course, was socially in giving those functions. And you guys back then had a trio, and you guys had a mantra. I think that what's the word? What was the mantra you had for the trio? When
Oh, DMD is not a party,
D&D.
it's an experience.
Right, experience, right? And a lot of people didn't get that, but it was all sorts of people, anyone from 65, 75 to, I was 45, 50 back then, and then 28, 29, 35, all ages, all economics, all religions, everything was all in the building.
Right.
Mayors and politicians and all that were in the building. So I want to give everybody a chance to understand how you came up with that concept, and then also you mentioned on that show a little bit about Farrakhan and your stint with the Muslim. I want you to chat a little bit about that as well.
Yes, sir. So, first and foremost, I was born into a very, very loving household. My grandmother, my mother loved me. My grandfather loved me. My aunts loved me. My uncles and aunts encouraged me and they supported me. But what they did is they just happened to have me after the civil rights unrest of the 60s. So I was born in 1971 to a father that had just served 3 terms in Vietnam as a medic, who left a part of himself in Vietnam, who saw a 15-and-a-half-year-old girl with a very well shaped body. All right. He had a yellow super sport. He was 22 years old and he pulled up on Pennsylvania Avenue like, and she was like, wow. All right. So between the and the wow, 9 months later, I'm here. All right. On the avenue, born right there at Pennsylvania and Gold, right after the 60s. And anybody who understand the 60s and Pennsylvania Avenue, they'll know that the heart of the uprising in Baltimore City was on Pennsylvania Avenue. So my family lived on that block, literally, all right, at Pennsylvania and Gold. So I was born in the midst of what would become our struggle, and the face of our struggle in Baltimore. At that point in time, there was a lot of movement coming out of the 60s to name schools after civil rights agents and musicians. So I went to, in the early part of my life, I went to a school, in the first part of my life, went to a school called Duke Ellington. And Duke Ellington was a school that encouraged me to be an artist. So, I remember having a brown leotard and I played a mouse. And I remember singing and just being a part of this process and developing the confidence of what it meant to be on stage and to have people to look at you and to have people to give you a round of applause for something that, they thought was, well, they either supported you or felt sorry for you, depending on how bad or how good you did. And then I left that place and I went to a school called Malcolm X. All right. So this was all in the 21215, 21217 area codes, which these are the main area codes in which all the problems have been concentrated or viewed as the way the problems have been concentrated in Baltimore. But initially they were revolutionary hubs. So I went to Malcolm X and I learned a poem that said, aim for a star. Never be satisfied with a life that's less than the best. Failure lies in not having tried and keeping your soul suppressed. And that poem entered and pierced my soul as a second grader. And I memorized that. They never gave me that poem to memorize. That was a poem that they used to read every day over the loudspeaker. So I began to connect what was happening over the loudspeaker with something that was inside of me. So when I walked the halls in first and second and third grade, I felt a certain amount of power and confidence in being myself and being really a black person because I was at Malcolm X. So I left Malcolm X and they sent me to a school called Dr. King, literally. So at Dr. King, every year they had something that was called the Declamation Contest, where they asked kids to learn Dr. King's speeches, all right? And then to perform those speeches for prizes and accolades. And every year when I entered in the 4th grade, I won third place. And the fifth grade, I felt as though I got jammed up. I felt they didn't have the right person. But a good friend of mine, Michonne Rogers, she won it in the second grade. I mean, in the fifth grade. So when it came to the sixth grade, all right, now understand this was the biggest thing that happened at the school. So if you did this, you were the what? Man.
Yeah.
Okay? So not only had I had experience of being on stage and love poetry, because every year I was actively trying to learn Dr. King's speeches, anything that you study over and over, the spirit of that thing begins to transfer. So the spirit of King began to transfer to me by virtue of me forcing myself to memorize these poems. So when we got to sixth grade, I had had 3 years of memorizing Dr. King's poems. So when they said, today I would like to say to you, today, my friends, that in spite of the difficulties of the moment, we still have a dream. It is a dream deeply rooted in the American dream. I have a dream that one day on the red hills of Georgia, the sons of former slaves and the sons of former slave owners. So all that being said is I internalized all that stuff. All right. So
Yeah.
it was a poem to everybody else, but I steadily was becoming that.
Yeah.
I wasn't, these people, they set me up. So it's no secret. But my point is, when you have people who set you up, when adults set children up, all right, to learn this stuff,
That's
the
right.
children think that they doing something. They really are just doing what they were taught.
That's right.
So those old black women and those old black church clapping, high stepping, soul stepping women, those ushers and all of those individuals, they were setting me up. They was
Yeah.
preparing me.
Girl.
Yeah.
So I'm prepared. And
Yeah.
I'm prepared in spirit,
That's right.
all right, as well as the other part of that is, they made sure that I was in a protected environment where I was celebrated for being intelligent. So when my friends saw me in this, now I grew up Park Heights kid, right? I done had at least 30 fights in my life, all right? So when the kids saw me outside in the street, I had respect from the school. And then being a street kid, I'm 30 and old and growing up in Park Heights. I ain't never lost a fight, Thomas. That's an actual fact. All right. So, I also did not have to hide this genius because I could either deal with you on the uh, intelligence level or I could deal with you on the street level. I was equally confident.
Yeah.
So that helped me to be able to, navigate this world and navigate this life and understand that, how much we were connected as people. But most and foremost, I began to understand how these various people in the community could activate to become a powerful force. So to answer your question, I had three choices. I could become a preacher, all right? Because, I mean, Dr. King, I understood what that meant. But in understanding what that meant, I understood what that meant.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm not going to play with that. That's a specific calling. You don't play with that.
That's
All
right.
right. So the other thing is I had the opportunity to say, look, politician. And then I looked around me and I said, well, these politicians aren't doing what the old politicians did. All right. They cheating the process. They're going and they're going and talking to 20 old people. All right. And acting as if that's activism. All right. They're not respecting what the old people who taught them did, which was engage the youth, engage the elderly, and engage those who were working and those who were school age and brought them into community. So I had no confidence in the political process because I didn't feel like we were politically mature enough to fight the political realm. So what I decided to do was to penetrate the entertainment and the promotions world so ultimately I could become an influence to them and get them utilizing their large platforms to be Dr. Kings. And that's what I did.
Wow.
Yeah.
Good story, man. Thank you for that one, man. Y'all, listen, guys. Call your friends. Tell your sister, your
Amen.
mom, and them to tune in because D Chase is going to air. Very rarely do we get this 35, 40 minutes with this gentleman. He's usually busy running around town. He got out the vote. He's got Standup Baltimore. He's giving events. He has a garage, a physical building that he's managing for events. He's doing it all in the community. Lucia, you have a question for him?
Yes. I tell you, I'm so impressed, and I thank God for you, Chase. I do want to ask you, what would you say to our young people who are out here protesting right now, and they're fighting for cause? And of course, I've heard many people say, we don't have one leader like we used to have in Martin Luther King, and like we used to have in Malcolm X. But what would you say now to our young people who are out here protesting for the Black Lives Matter
Well, first and
cause?
foremost, I would thank them.
To join activism going forward, though, not to stop, but to continue.
Yeah. The first thing I would do is I would thank them. I would applaud them for their courage. All right. And then I would show them some documentaries of all of these old people, so they understand that what you're doing is a continuation. You didn't start this. All right. I'm going to connect you to a larger and a longer movement. And I'm going to make you be a student of the strategies so that you can understand exactly how they were able to do things, so that now that you have this moment, that corporations, they didn't have corporations who wanted to pour hundreds of millions of dollars into helping to change their condition. All right. They didn't have an athletic association in the NBA and the NFL cheerleading their cause. They didn't have white people in the numbers that they have now, who in some cases outnumber them, standing beside them. They had none of that. All right. So what I'm going to show you is I'm going to walk you through history and show you the varying strategies that our people have utilized in order to propagate change, so that you can respect. All right. You can respect the process, because, youth is only a part of our movement. The other part of our movement is wisdom. All right. So we have to have a youth wisdom movement. All right. Not just a youth movement, because if you're not careful, you
All
can
right.
get played out of position, and all of the energy that you have around this time, you'll find yourself in 50 years in the same position, only because you weren't connected to strategies that have been effective long term. So that's the first thing that I would do with it.
So, we've talked a lot over the years, D Chase, and I guess, since we do live in Baltimore, we're in Baltimore. What do you see for the future for Baltimore in the near term? Let's say 5 years.
Well, because I'm actively working, you know what I'm saying? The Baltimore that I see is a Baltimore where, the community has now reasserted themselves on Main Street. We have what we call a Main Street Initiative. Our city has a Main Street Initiative. We got our own Main Street Initiative. All right, where we do exactly what I just said in the beginning. I see this as becoming an international hub, where people who are connected to the African diasporic struggle, as well as their own struggles for equality, this Baltimore becomes the home of that. I see universities, institutions, government agencies, and grassroots organizations sitting down at the table, connecting and weaving resources, abilities, and strategies to totally configure out, how do you specifically change neighborhoods wholesale. I see a large amount of entertainers coming into Baltimore because it's become so attractive in terms of not just a hotbed for activity, but a hotbed for constructive development and business opportunities, as we begin to create this as the model for change around the world. So what I see, I have 100 and 42 initiative plan. I see us being 5 more years into that initiative. I see a lot more people really understanding what we're really doing. I see people who are on the sidelines loosely understanding, what my role has been in the city, to understand it a little bit more, and to understand that, with me, there's no ego attached. But I believe that, and if I'm all honesty, if I'm honest, I believe that God has chosen me as well as others, to do something that is unique to humanity. So I see the presence of God expanding in Baltimore in a way that people wouldn't even believe.
Wow. Hey, guys, listen, the last 15 minutes of the show, you can ask questions. We're going to ask you to text them in.
Man.
Lucia and I will read those questions the last 15 minutes. We got 10 more minutes with it before that question period comes up. And thank you, Jackie Scott, for asking that question. Hey,
Yes.
what's up, how you
And
doing?
I do have a question for you.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Lucia.
D. Chase, I would like to know, what would you say, because I see you're a spiritual man as well, filled with wisdom. What would you say to our spiritual leaders right now in this time about what they can do to motivate and change in the community and to actually galvanize people together, so that we can have positive change? But like you said, it begins with us. But then how do we do that on a spiritual level as a group or an entity, if you will, a business, the church?
Yes, ma'am. So, there is and I'm not as biblical as I need to be, but there's a scripture that talks about, these group of voices surrounding a wall, I believe, or a building, and they start talking about how as they raise their voices, that wall began to fall. Well, I believe that they're talking about the spiritual community. All right, so I think that they're talking about uniting the voice and the spirit of God, not in just a religious way, but in a spiritual way, where we begin to really understand the essence of the meaning of scripture more so than echoing, all right, what has already been said. So one thing about our spiritual community is they have been students of God probably just as amount of time as they've been living, because a lot of those individuals, most of those individuals, have had a calling. All right. So it's not normal. All right. So my advice to them is to go back into the original idea of why you were called. Go back and cocoon so that you can conjure up the memories and the energy of why you got into this in the first place. Go back to a space when you didn't have the resources and you didn't have the space and you didn't have the congregation and you didn't have the structure. You had the passion, all right? You had the desire. So my call to them would be a return back to God. You got to go back to God. Don't tell me that you've been with God 70 years. All right. I've been with my mother for 70 years, but I got to go back and see my mother. All right. I got to go back and I got to go sit up under my grandmother. I got to go back and listen to them old hymns, not that new stuff. I got to go back to that. There's no disrespect to those guys. All right. I got to go back to that.
That's right.
Because the truth of the matter is that we are not leading forward. We're bringing the past forward. All right. Our survival and our success is not in the future. Our success is in our history and our memories of who we were. So our fight is a fight that they are the best qualified to teach. They have to reteach who we were. They know who we were. They got to stand out there on the front lines and they have to force us. What did you say out of your mouth? And guess what? You can have a young man like me right beside you who don't have no problem dealing with you on a mental, emotional, financial, or a physical level. Because It's going to take a certain level of manhood and
Mm-hmm.
womanhood to go back and to put our communities over our need. We talk about the policies of America that has gone out of control, but what's gone out of control is how we raise our children. They are out of control. The way that we were taught back in the day is the way forward. No, you're going to say yes, sir, or yes, ma'am. You're not going to say mm-hmm and nah. You're going to use correct English. You're going to work how you talk to your elders.
That's right.
I'm just talking about some basic, fundamental things. But they got to stand up and they have to demand that. Wisdom will make
Basics.
the community submit. The only thing that they have to do is they have to see it in large numbers. Every person who's over 50 years old, every day, go sit on your porch like y'all used to do. Don't go to those old folks' homes. And take all of the wisdom that we have and go put it in a building that nobody comes to see. And they only thing they force them to play bridge and checkers and chess instead of being the banks of memories of how we survived as a people. Get every one of those old people out those old homes and put them in one of those daggone neighborhoods and force people to go and talk and sit with them on Saturdays and Sundays and file their toenails. All right, cut their hair. All right, all the stuff that made us who we were. We gotta go back. That's what I would tell them.
That's right. That's right.
We gotta go back.
Wow. Listen, woo, this is good. From the time this started, I have been hearing the word from apostles and prophets and pastors, the word reset. And so you just spoke it. Everybody's been saying that this is a time of reset, where we now have to go back. God is recreating us. He's giving us another opportunity or do-over. So where we messed up, now we have an opportunity to do things over, and this time doing better. But when you spoke about bringing our older people out of these nursing homes, because you know the scripture does talk about the older people ought to teach the younger people. But if they're locked up in a nursing home somewhere, you're right. Then their wisdom is locked up, and we're not getting it. We're not getting that. So that's major. But you know, I like to look up stuff and look up information, and so I really want to talk about just community for a second, because I looked at the definition of the word community, and it says a group of people either living in the same place or having a particular characteristic in common. And then it says a feeling of fellowship with others as a result of sharing common attitudes, interests, and goals. But then when I look at the word community, what we have a struggle with, it's one, you have people common, but then you got the word unity. What we have a problem with as a people is unified. And therefore, that's one of the reasons why I believe, and you can give me your take on it, and that we have a problem with community, because we don't come together like we should. There's more strength, and I will say this till the day that I die. We are stronger together than we ever would be apart. And it's another place that talks about two are better than one, because when one falls, they have the other to lift them up. And so we're not to operate in silos, but we ought to come together, and we are to help to build, but we're to do that together, not alone. So I just want to get your take on community, because you are an activist and because you're doing the work.
Yeah. So I mean, I think I think you summed it up. I mean, you know, the number one thing in community is calm, right? Community, no, come, just
That's
come,
right.
all right? So the first thing that we have to do is come,
Come.
right? We come together. We come not to do anything, all right? And this is what takes us back to the foundation of our communities. The foundation of our community is based around food, all right? Come together and eat, all right? It's something that we all like to do. We don't even have to fight ourselves to do that, all right? So when we come together and eat, we also come together, even if it's just for the first 45 seconds, we come together and what? Pray.
Pray.
All right. So we come to eat, and as a part of the process, we come to pray. The third aspect of that is that we come to know both the situation of each other, all right, as well as the celebration of each other. So now
Mm-hmm.
we have the con, we go from calm, C-O-M, to con, C-O-N, converse, conversation. So now we begin to
Mm-hmm.
communicate and share ourselves based upon what's going on in our lives. All right. What we need. Part of con and community is vulnerability. All right. So a lot of times we don't want to see each other because we are not doing as well as we thought we would do. And the reason that we are not doing as well is because the whole time we really needed each other. We needed the encouragement. All right. But we got too big or we felt too
Right.
small and we did not do it. So a part of it is the healing. All right. So if we have to ask, and this is one of the things that the spiritual
Mm-hmm.
community can really help accelerate, is that they have to help heal the relationships that have been fractured as a result of our experience in our homes and in as the sojourn of America. So when we begin to do some very, very fundamental things, most people,
Mm-hmm.
when you meet them in their 20s, all right, you're meeting who they are trying to become. You're not meeting who they are. All right. So when you meet them at that point, you don't know
Mm-hmm.
their story. All right. And as long as we keep meeting new people, we don't have to be
Right.
reminded of our old stories. All right. Because our old stories are the plausible things that need to be healed, that need to be remedied. All right. So a big part of us becoming
Mm-hmm.
community is the healing of old wounds, right? This is something that has to be facilitated. It has to be facilitated by those who are best in position to have that facilitated. And these things can happen in the household. They can happen in the church. And these things will bring about our community. These are the things that will bring about our community. I'm about to jump on the charger because my phone is about to die. So you keep asking me questions and I'm
Hey
about to start
guys,
my
listen,
thought.
all the folks online, if you have a question, please post a question now for Mr. D Chase, man. He's got a wealth of information. As you guys know, he's out of Baltimore, but he's well connected. He's traveled to, I want you to talk a little bit to D Chase later on about your Africa experience and that whole thing as well to the folks. But if you have some questions, please list them out now. We will read them one by one until the 10 or 5 minutes are up. But please ask a question. Hey, Bill, what's up, Bill Moran, Karen Bryce, Gary Best, my sister Wheat, Janelle. Hey, James. Hey, everybody. How you doing? Thanks for joining Strength, Courage, and Wisdom every Wednesday at 2 o'clock. This program is to give you information to hopefully to bless your heart and bless you with some good information, something that you can use, something that you can take with you, something that you can pass along to someone else. One thing I do like about what Chase is saying, because I quote my father and mother probably every show, and they have blessed me with the ability to listen and learn from them. And I think that is one thing that is missing in our community now that we don't have anymore. We used to have. So any questions, Jackie Scott? You asked. Did you have any questions, Jackie? Anybody have any questions? Please ask those questions. Meanwhile, Derrick, D,
Yes, sir.
you're part of a African movement as well in Africa. You've traveled several times over the years. Can you tell everybody real quickly, or just give them an update on that and how that's going?
I sure will. So I like to believe that we have two things. We have what's called a heritage, all right, which brings us back to the motherland, and we have an inheritance, which is what's owed to us here.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So, and I don't believe that we have to trade one for the other. All right. They both are our equal rights. And although I never liked the word African American, the older I get, the more I respect it. All right. Because we are African. And guess what? We are American. So understanding that and understanding America and America's power in the world, Our only ability to free Africa is based upon what we are able to do in America. All right. So America has a lot of influence over the world. The foreign policy of America is normally written for the interests of those nationalities, whether it's Israeli, whether it's Italian, whether it's French, whether it's English. Those nationalities, they protect their heritage with the American citizenship. So I believe in the same spirit that these individuals have organized to make sure that the policies of the country that their ancestors have come from are fair. I believe that we have the same responsibility as it relates to Africa. And we give out, by virtue of us being strong politically here, we're able to, if we're wise, to negotiate fair policy in Africa. Now, what we have to also understand about the development of Africa is that the world right now is fighting over Africa, right? Everybody wants to get in Africa, and the reason that they want to get in Africa because 60% of the world's resources are in Africa. All right, in a capitalistic society, what you need is the intelligence to manufacture and to create. You need the raw materials and you need cheap labor. All of those things are in Africa. So China and Lebanon and all these other countries are moving into Africa, writing loans, unbelievable amount of loans, and then ultimately demanding that they have not a fair part of the country, but an unfair part of the country. So here, our position is in America, where we represent financially probably the ninth wealthiest nation. So the movement that I am helping to create is a movement that will position us to best position ourselves in America to create trade from the motherland here and throughout the world by virtue of port-to-port relationships. So Baltimore has it has a historical relationship with Liberia. People don't know that the African people left Baltimore, mainly Baltimore and Virginia, in the late 1800s after the War of 1812. And those free people in 1849, they started a free country. That country is called Liberia. All right. It was started by African Americans, mainly from Baltimore and Virginia, but some, throughout. It was started by an organization that came together called the African Colonization Society. That one of their leaders was a guy by the name of Francis Scott Key. All right, Francis Scott Key. He wrote a poem that ultimately became the national anthem. Oh, say can you see? The third verse of that poem is, there will be no escape from the grave, from the hireling or the slave. All right. The reason that he wrote that is because during the War of 1812, the British asked the African American people, in particular of Baltimore and Maryland and Virginia, to fight with them to take America. Those people did that. So when you look at when Washington, D.C. was burned down in 1812, it was burned down by Africans who had locked in with the British. All right. And then in 1814, after they had took the American capital, they began to come and try to take the industrial capital, which was Baltimore. So Baltimore was the New York City of America in 1814. All right. Now, what happens is Francis Scott Key says these Negroes, in the same spirit of what happened in Haiti, if we're not careful, they are going to take over America. We gotta get them out of here. So he began to build a very unique coalition between African American preachers, Quakers, and white folks who were racist, who felt that there was some commonality of getting Africans out of America and starting their own society. That's where Liberia is. So me understanding and being a student of history and understanding that by virtue of the Constitution of Liberia, there can only be two citizens. One is to be born in Liberia. The other is to be born African American in the United States. So you already have citizenship. So I went there to help I began to build these partnerships between America and Liberia, and in particular Baltimore port and Liberian ports. So we have it's a whole movement that we have connected to that.
Good. We have a question right quick, D. Lucia, you see the question?
Yes, I do.
Yep.
It says, and the question says, do we still have true civil rights leaders that are on the front lines at this time and not just when something bad happens? And the other part of that question is, and should influential, powerful preachers be visible on the front line?
Well, I'll answer that. I would say the answer is yes. One of the greatest things, if you want to destroy a movement, all right, you tell the movement that it has no leaders. You want to destroy it? Tell them follow yourself. Don't go follow nobody. Don't go follow your pastor. Don't go follow. You don't need them. They ain't did nothing. They ain't nothing. Mm-hmm. You take your television and your media, and you turn the fundamental voice of the community. You turn them into a clown. So you turn all of the preachers into clowns through the media. So every comedian wants to come up there. He wants to use his pastor's voice. So if the comedians has now been the replaced leadership, all right. Those who once had power have no power, not because they don't have power, but because the people who had historically listened to them have been told not to listen to them. All right. So we have to revisit history. Ultimately, we have to understand what leadership looks like. Leadership for a lot of people, it looks like being loud. It looks like making a speech. But those old people that make speeches, those old people organized their neighborhoods. Those old people made sure that the children had food. They made sure that they had school supplies. It was not loud, it was quiet. So we have to move away from these loud movements where there's a lot of agitation, but there's no true change. So to answer your question, I don't think the best place to fight a war is not necessarily on the front lines. Wars are won by generals making plans.
Yep. True. D, I know you're on the move.
Good. Man. That's real good.
I know you're on the move. We got time for one more question. If there's another question out there by anyone, please ask it. So I know D's on the move. He's probably just lost him. We just lost him for a minute. He'll probably jump back in. Lucia, I told you. I got a lot of good friends.
Listen. I like the last thing he said, Rich. Wars are won by generals making plans. Our problem is, listen, we too reactionary and emotional. We need to be strategizing and creating some plans, some things that's going to last and going to sustain. And we need to start creating some partnerships and come together and doing some things that are effective. Not just reactionary, but effective. Because people they don't care about our reactions and our emotions.
It goes back to what I said last week when I said that if we're not making the rules, the policies, the regulations, we're not doing nothing. We're just really screaming loud, ain't saying nothing. We gotta be strategizing, man. We gotta have a bunch of generals in the background. We can have that guy out front, a couple guys across the country speaking out loud. But at the same token, we'd be back in the back room making things happen, securing the folks that need a lot to make things happen, securing certain communities, protecting certain communities, getting food for certain communities, getting power to certain communities, giving a voice to certain communities, all communities. But we gotta start doing that. I want to thank my friend D Chase, man. He's a young man that I'm proud to call my friend, and we chat often, man. And that brother, every time I talk to him, I learn something new because he's like my father. My father was a historian. He's reciting things from 1812, 1814. I'm not that cat. I don't don't memorize stuff of that nature, but it brings it all back to bear. And one thing that caught me on this show today that's really powerful is he says we're going to have to go back to the past to get to the future. And I like that because all those fundamental things our folks told us about, and our grandfolks and my grandmother and my grandfather, man, on my mother's side, who I had the pleasure of meeting with, on my mother's side, man, were so smart with no education. They just had good common black folk sense. You know what I mean? And they were just courteous, yes, ma'am, yes, sir. And you had to obey, you had to follow the rules, and showed you how to act properly and talk properly and speak clearly, hold your head up, stand straight up, all these things that you need to have in your arsenal as anybody, but more importantly, as a black individual or African American individual today. And I'm proud he brought that to bear. D. Chase, we can't see you physically, but I want to say, man, thank you so much, man. I really appreciate you joining my show. It's your first time on my show. And as I always say, I need you to come back again real soon so we can catch up a little bit and talk to you a little bit more, man. I thank God for you. And I thank God for your family and your movement. Love you, brother. There you go. I heard your voice. Good. We're hearing you, man. That's good. So I want you to say a last little parting words, D, if you can.
I can't hear him, Rich.
Yep, I hear you.
Nope.
I hear you. Now you just went away, D. Just went away. He just went away. So he'll come back on, though. I do want to say some parting words. He's a powerful young man. Okay. That's why I like this show as well. I've got.
I like what he said too.
I like the fact that we had a 75-year-old.
One thing he said, Rich, talk about change. We got a delay. So, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Rich.
Well, the thing I like, we had a 75-year-old a little while ago. 75 years ago, about 2 weeks ago. Now we got a 40-year-old. You know what I mean? I'm going to try to get me a 28, 29-year-old to hear what they have to say. You know what I mean? This is what I like about my show. It's just bringing different folks together that don't know each other, but have similarities, have some differences of opinion, and have different ways of going about it, but they're making things happen. They're affecting change. I can tell you for a fact that from morning up, I think he wakes up 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. From 4 o'clock on, that brother's on the move. He's doing something in the community. He's involved, man. He's got out the vote, man. When they were doing the paper votes, he was handing out the boxes to people, the elderly, delivering the elderly, helping the elderly get the stuff to the mailbox. He was just doing so much, man, and I'm so proud of him, man, and what he's doing. My friend Bill just asked me a question. Yeah. See, can you see it all, Lucia? I'm trying. Bill.
It says, yes, I can. He says, Rick, how do we reduce the hypersensitive sides so that we listen better and learn better and then solve problems together?
D. Chase is a gem.
That's a question for you.
Yeah, I hear it. I hear it. D. Chase is a gem. Yes. Thank you, Bill, for that question, man. I tell you, man, listening better and learning better, man. I hope I can answer this question a little bit, and I hope D. Chase comes back on and he can join in this question as well. Hey, D. Chase, can you hear us now? Now, listen to this question right quick. Let me bring you up right quick. See, read that question one more time, please.
The question, DJ, is how do we reduce hypersensitivities on both sides so that we listen better and learn better and then solve problems together? And Mr. Moran says DJ are.
She said what?
He said you were a gem.
Oh, thank you.
Mr. Moran said you are a gem.
I mean, this is what I tell people. Is first and foremost, you diffuse history just by telling it. Like, because if we are good people, all right, and the history when we read the history, and the history is properly vetted, and the history says, look, when your grandmother was 13, she had to move up from the south because she got pregnant. All right. When we read that story from a historical standpoint, there's an aspect of us that say, damn, what happened? How did she get pregnant? Like, what happened? There's a part of ourselves that we'll automatically develop empathy for that individual. All right. And now when we get to the part of the history that says that, she couldn't, when she was 21, she couldn't find a job. We can start then putting together, a logical a pattern of what happened to her at 13, and then how did that lead to her at 21 not having a job. All right. So then when we study these things, we get an understanding of the person. All right. We get an understanding of what their process was, and we get an understanding of what were the gaps that we need to fill in order to move them forward. So the first thing that we have to do is we have to revisit history in a way where we're not trying to re-sting each other, but we're trying to create a heightened awareness and an understanding of what it is, what are the deficits that we're trying to solve. And when we're able to approach that like that, all right, now we don't look at each other as the enemy. All right, we look at each other as co-conspirators to solving the situation that neither one of us created, because neither one of us are the parents of our grandmother.
Right. Wow. I want to give
That's right.
Bill Moran was my high school best friend, man, and he's still one of my best friends, and I really appreciate that question. And I think you articulated that very well, D. Chase. I think we got to figure a way that we can communicate and talk civil. And I think that the problem I have sometimes when I talk about this is that, unfortunately, I was talking about this earlier, D. Our problem, I think, as a people, we don't make the rules. We don't make the rules of America right now. And that's why I was going back to my root conversation. And every time it seems like we're getting ahead up, or we're getting ahead in something, or we're getting better at something, or things are moving, the rules and everything changes. The whole game changes. And until we're able to get in that room and be part of that table that's changing, affecting, and make the rules, the policies, the procedures, the regulations, the politics of it all that, I think we're always going to be in this quagmire of them against us and us against them. I just feel that way. That's my personal opinion. But we got to get in that room somehow and be effective in that room and have a voice in that room and have a say in that room and affect change in that room. Until then, it all becomes rhetoric to a certain degree, because sorry to say, it's us out in the community going back and forth and trying to fix things. The people down in D.C. and the people in the White House and the people in different houses down here, they're not listening, man. They're not listening. They're in their own little world. That's my take on it. But I think it's gotten better. I think it's going to get better. And I think for that question. Yep.
Hey, Rich.
Yes.
I was a wrestler, right?
Uh-huh.
And the goal of a wrestler is to make their opponent submit. All right. No wrestler expects the person on the other side to lay on their back and put their shoulders down. All right. So what has to happen is, in order to be an effective wrestler, you have to learn the effective techniques. All right. Proactive techniques as well as reactive techniques to put your opponent in a position where they are compromised. All right. So when we look and understand local politics, state politics, and national politics, we ask ourselves the wrong question. The real question that we should ask ourselves is, how can we put our opponent in a position where they have no other choice but to submit? Once we study that and understand that, those are the areas in which we organize. Once our opponent agrees that, okay, this will submit me, they don't want to get submitted. So then at that point, they're willing to negotiate. All right. So And more direct terms, what does that mean? From a national standpoint, we had the opportunity to look at the Tea Party. All right, the Tea Party was able to force the agenda of a segment of America that most of us don't even really know exists. All right, which in some cases, they are some of the most racist. I mean, let's call it what it was. All right, some of the most misguided, some of the most uninformed people in America, but they were able to organize, even being that level of having that level of being uninformed, living in some of the squalor that they were able to organize. All right, and they were able to in specific areas because national politics work on electoral votes.
Yeah.
So by being strong in Detroit, by being strong in Ohio, by being strong in Pennsylvania, by being strong in Florida, and it's probably one other place that I left off. Um, they were able to twist the arm of America and get what it is that they want. Well, that same strategy can be afforded to us. But the first and foremost, what we have to do is that we have to work to have the number one thing is that we have to have a clear agenda. And our clear agenda is not just policing. It's not just policing.
Mm-hmm.
So from a stand-up Baltimore stand-up model, it's really a stand-up America model. All right. Because our goal is to build a model that works where we show how to submit local politicians. All right. We're going to submit them all, be better organized in their districts than they are.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I mean, I never wanted to position myself as a leader, right? Because I believe that everybody's a leader. But what I have recognized, I was talking to God on Monday, and God told me, Derrick, stop playing with these people, bro. I have given you something, and I've given you a task. You are humble. Your ego is not attached. Go lead. Go do it. Tell these people that you talk to me. Ask these people for help. Share with them your ideas. Some, more complicated than others. All right. Beg of their help. Ask for them to work in the capacity that they can work to be involved and grow something beyond yourself and beyond themselves. Grow this thing into something that can impact my humanity, my fallen humanity, in a way in which I predicted. Go do it. So that's kind of like where I am with this thing, Rich. You know what I'm saying? Like back in the day, I would never like really have these types of conversations. But
Yeah.
because I am interested in helping to create a national and international movement, I will present myself as a leader. And I will, say, look, if you don't feel like doing it, get behind me. If you feel like doing it, get beside me. All right. If you know how to do it better than I know how to do it, get in front of me.
Ooh.
Let's get it done. So that's where I am, Rick.
Well, D, once again, man, I want to thank you. We are over on the time, man. I want to thank you, man. I really, every time I talk to you, I learn something new, like I said, and that's a good thing. You are doing a yeoman's job, man. I want you to keep up the work, keep up the faith. I want you to be that leader that God's called you to be, man. And I know it's going to be powerful, man. You know I'm here for you, man. Whenever you need me, we'll give you a ring, and we'll talk. We'll catch up another day. Lucia?
Hey, no doubt, Rick. Hey, man, keep doing what you're doing, bro. Because you are the leader. You know what I mean? You're putting this together weekly, and you're being consistent. I remember when you first started your Facebook Lives, and I would just occasionally pop in, you know what I mean, just to see what you were talking about. And I watched you go from just something that you were doing occasionally to allowing God to utilize you and your resources to create a platform to expose little people like myself and others who can help, get their ideas out, man. So we're grateful for you and how God is using you.
Tell everybody how to reach out to you guys at Stand Up Baltimore and your other organizations as well.
Right. So Stand Up Baltimore,
Yes.
Stand Up Baltimore at Gmail. My direct number is 443-804-8742. The website is standupbaltimore.org. So between the email, the website, on IG. Best way to reach me is direct. D Chase Presents. Same thing on Facebook. I'm Derrick Chase. Yeah, let's just build a relationship and get this thing done.
Hey D, your boy Jay Wendell said, "Hey man."
Hey, that's my guy. That's the warrior lawyer. Hey,
That's
hey,
a
Rich.
warrior lawyer, boy. Ain't he, man? Everybody who needs a lawyer, go see Jay Wendell. Jay
Hey,
Wendell,
man, look.
no question.
Hey, Rich. I mean, the beautiful thing, and I'll close on this note with your permission. The
Yep.
beautiful thing is that we get the opportunity to all be here together, Rich. All right. You know, I don't know if Dr. King and Malcolm were able to get together like me and you are able to get together, or you and Jay Wendell are able to get together.
Yeah.
All right. When we look at Marcus Garvey and we look at all the other leaders that existed during that time and different times, they never had the opportunity to get together. We got the opportunity, so let's just make do. Let's just make it do what it do.
Make it do what it do, man. Thank you so much, D Chase, man. Love you, man.
No doubt. How do I get a copy
Thank
of this?
you, DJ.
How do I get a copy of this, brother?
We'll send you a copy, sir.
Okay, thank you, man.
Yep.
I appreciate you, bro.
Appreciate you, sir.
All right, peace.
Peace. Lucia?
Thank
Peace,
you,
Queen.
DJ.
Be good to yourself.
Lucia?
Yes, sir. God bless you. Thank you. Listen, the change begins with you.
Girl, I don't know. I'm just outdone, man. It's like this show gets better and better and better, man. And I got some guests coming up, next couple of weeks. It's going to be powerful. But I just amazed when a young man like that, man, speaks like he speaks, man, with such authority, such passion, such compassion,
Right.
such knowledge, such historical knowledge. I love it. I love it. I love it. And then once again, it is profound to me that he has affected change, man, and be so young, and he's changed a lot of young folks. And whenever he gives a function, it's like a family reunion thing, you know, all ages, all generations. It's just, oh man, it's just. And then everything he's doing with Standup Baltimore, I can't be prouder, man, of say a guy as my friend than D Chase. And I got a lot of those guys in the promotion business that are doing the same, but today is D Chase's day, man. So I say thank you, D Chase. Let's see what do you think.
Yeah, you guys need to check out his website because he's doing a lot. He's doing a lot. He's touching business, finance, psychology, culture, education, social activism, law, politics, science, technology, and health. So he is doing a lot. He really is busy. So we can no longer say that we don't have any activists in Baltimore because we got activists. We just not connected to our activists. So connections matter, you know. So I thank God for this platform, Rich, strength, courage, and wisdom. I thank God for you. I thank God that He's allowed you to do this, to bring these individuals on, because I didn't know. I'm gonna be honest. I'm like many people who are probably watching the show. I didn't know D Chase. I didn't know that he was doing all of this. I didn't know all of this really existed in Baltimore.
Wow. Wow.
So, you know, I'm blessed and I am amazed. And so I stand beside him. Listen, I ain't gonna get behind him. I'm not the one necessarily get in front of him, but I support him. He's got my support.
I'm with him all the time. Hey, let's see. I'm gonna put you on the spot, okay? Because this is one thing I wanted to do at the beginning of the show, and I'm hoping people are still on the show watching. If not, they will get it on the tape. Please tell them about the Blackout Week. It's important. We're going to do this every week. Please tell them about the Blackout Week.
Yes. Listen, we are going in line with our conversation about what is we can do as a people to build Black wealth in our communities. We have created Blackout Week. It's a group on Facebook, and it's BOW, parenthetically BOW 2020. For the week of July 1st through July 7th, we will be making sure that we only spend any funds that we spend, we're going to be spending in the Black community. So we're trying to build our own wealth. In that group, we're also, our leader is Minister Sharon Matthews. And in that group, we are educating about finance. On this Sunday, we have a town hall meeting at 7 p.m. And the great and the phenomenal Dr. George Frazier will be with us in the town hall meeting. So please join that meeting, because this Sunday's topic is going to be the state of Black economy. You do not want to miss that town hall meeting. And so while we complain and while we're protesting, the one thing we know, everybody's turning around. Target's changed their mind. Starbucks has changed their mind. Why? Because of the black dollar. We've got black dollar power, people, and we need to know exactly where to put our money.
Wow.
So that's my 2-second commercial.
Good.
On
Thank you.
Blackout Week.
We're going to be doing that, guys. Please join on board on Facebook on the Blackout Week. They need your participation. You got about 40,000 people now. Lucia, how much you have now?
Yeah, it's over 41,000. It's over 41,000 people.
Yep. So, guys, listen, this show is just here to help us all, man, understand what's going on, give us some information, educate us all, bring some history, and give us some plans and some action items and some things to think about and talk about. I like the fact that my audience is diverse. I like the fact that my audience is astute and definitely dedicated, man. And I love you all. I want to say thank you for all you've done. I got to say thank you to my sponsors, John at John Cashland. Thank you so much. Tracy from Cigar Diva. Thank you so much. Chris from Prominent Home Prominent Home Inspection. Thank you so much. Marcus McAllister, my man from Newburgh, New York, from MGM Haberdashery. Thank you so much. Lisa's Luxury Boutique. Consignment Boutique. Thank you, Lisa. You guys got to support Lisa. She's been closed for 4 months. And it's a consignment shop. If you got clothes that designer clothes or not even design clothes, but good clothes, even with tags or no tags on them, she'll take them in and try to sell them for you. Please go see her up in the Fort Washington area, Lisa Luxury Consignment Boutique. It is an unbelievable shop. Got some great stuff. Men and women, but it's predominantly women wear. Get there soon. And I think I have one more sponsor. I don't have one yet. I don't have Parallel. My man Clay O'Para as well has been a sponsor. We're looking for more sponsors for the show. We're going to do more. We're going to be out more once we get the chance to be out. But we love you all. We want to say thank you. I want to thank, my other sponsor, my music ministry, Marcus Bevins. I can't forget that one, man. That is my man. He created my theme song. He's music ministry over at oh Lord, don't forget the name of the church, Rick. Oh Lord, I forgot.
Dreamlight. Is it Dreamlight?
No, he's over at Tony's church.
Are we not at Dreamlight?
No, he's at Tony's church. Can't remember the name off the hand, but I want to thank Marcus Bevins for that as well. Listen, Mom, love you. Everybody, I love you. Jackie Scott, Bill Moran, Jay Wendell, Martine, Dakaris, my cousin Dakaris, Janelle, Karen Bryce, Dwayne Williams was on the show. Man, Dwayne Williams was on the show for a while. My sister Weed, Raven. Oh, hey, how are you? Miss Gamble, Cherie, Marcus's wife, Quadre. Everybody, I want to thank you all for joining on board. Thank you. Stay tuned for next week. I got another special guest, man. I'm telling you, they coming. They sign up. They calling us now. So it's time to do what we do, man. Thank you. We love you.
But before we close out.
Yes.
Before we close out, this coming Sunday will be Father's Day. We will wish every man that's a father happy Father's Day. We want you to know we appreciate you. We appreciate all you do. If you have a good man in your life, if you have a father, celebrate him. Please let him know how much he is celebrated on this weekend. So happy Father's Day to everyone.
Happy Father's Day, man. I'm going to see my daughter all the way in Dallas.
See y'all next week.
See you next week, man. God bless you all. Thank you, Lucia. Love you, girl.
Strength, courage, and wisdom with a rich plan. Strength, courage, and wisdom. Strength, courage, and wisdom with a rich plan. Strength, courage, and wisdom. Strength, courage, and wisdom is a motivational moment designed to equip you and empower with the necessary fundamentals and strategies to take your business to the next level. Every Wednesday morning at 8:30, right here, live on Facebook. You are in for a great treat with Rich McClern on Strength, Courage, and Wisdom. Strength, courage, and wisdom with Rich McClern. Strength, courage, and wisdom. Strength, courage, and wisdom with Rich McClern. Strength, courage, and wisdom. Strength, courage, and wisdom with Rich McClern. Strength, courage, and wisdom. Strength, Courage, and Wisdom is a motivational moment designed to equip you and empower you with the necessary fundamentals and strategies to take your business to the next level. Every Wednesday morning at 8:30, right here, live on Facebook. You are in for a great treat with Rich McClern on Strength, Courage, and Wisdom. Strength, Courage, and Wisdom with Rich McClern. Strength, Courage, and Wisdom. Strength, Courage, and Wisdom with Rich McClern. Strength, Courage, and Wisdom. Strength, Courage, and Wisdom with Rich McClern. Strength, Courage, and Wisdom. Strength, Courage, and Wisdom is a motivational moment designed to equip you and empower you with the necessary fundamentals and strategies to take your business to the next level. Every Wednesday morning at 8:30, right here, live on Facebook. You are in for a great treat with Rich McClern on Strength, Courage, and Wisdom. Strength, Courage, and Wisdom with Rich McClern. Strength, Courage,